What's going on, legends? This is your motivation guy, Keith Allen, and I'm here to teach all of you how to play controller on Apex Legends. And so with well over half of the player base using controllers, we thought that this would be a perfect time to make a video to help all of our friends playing on the sticks. You guys ready for this? Let's get this going. When you hear someone mention controllers in Apex, or any shooter for that matter, it's hard to avoid the aim assist conversation. You know, aim assist is a feature only controllers get. That is essentially an AI software designed to assist the user in tracking their opponent. Using an analog stick to aim versus a mouse to aim will always prove the stick to be much more inaccurate. And so it doesn't have much effect at range in Apex, but definitely has a major impact in close range fights. Hip firing your weapon will provide a lower amount of aim assist, where aiming down sights can give you the glued to an opponent feeling. Some people feel like it's an aimbot that does everything for you, where some don't feel nearly as strongly. Regardless of your opinion, it is in the game and it's not going anywhere. And so if you're using a console, then your aim assist multiplier is 0.6. However, if you plug that same controller into a PC, it's reduced to 0.4. You know, it's important to be aware of this in case you have swapped to PC and are suddenly suffering from the bad aim bug. So give your muscle memory time to adapt to this change, because it's definitely a big deal. There is no way to turn off this assist. However, there are some settings that you can change to make it less sticky if you find you don't like it. You know, aim assist is not overpowered, but there is no denying it is strong. One of, if not the first thing we recommend doing is hopping into the firing range and taking a look at your settings. You know, the firing range will serve not only as a safe haven to view settings, but it'll also be a great place to test any changes out. And so some of these settings are not only applicable to controllers, but are important for any player to know. And so for example, like turning on the performance display will provide you real-time information on the game you're in. It will show important information such as FPS, ping, packet loss, etc. A little bit lower, you're going to find an option to turn off death boxes closing due to damage. Turning this off does increase the chance to get you killed while looting a box. Even with this risk, we like this option disabled for the majority of Apex situations. Armor swapping mid-fight is a wonderful skill to work on, and with this enabled, you can armor swap with ease. The last setting under the gameplay tab is a preference pick, but can add life to your controllers. Auto sprint is something people either hate or love. For controller players though, getting used to this will mean much less presses on the analog stick, which in turn will increase its lifespan. This does have tiny drawbacks in certain situations, but overall will not be any different than default. The next tab that we want to focus on is not going to be a surprise, the controller tab. This is where the real fun begins with customizing your Apex experience. If you're using Scuff or something similar with extra buttons on the back, then your button layout is going to be different than someone without one. Normally, people utilize the back paddles for jump, crouch, reload, and the last can vary. For someone not using one of these controllers, you will probably find default or button puncher to be your preferred button layout. Button puncher is going to change pushing down your right stick from meleeing to crouching. Many players find this helpful for crouch spamming when compared to default. Definitely check all the diagrams out to see what each changes in case you find another to your liking. Advanced look controls can be a great thing for the right player. Since this is a beginner guide, it can be tedious to set up AOC. We're going to touch on them in a later video. Alright, moving on. Before changing any sensitivity, be sure to find a response curve you enjoy. Changing from classic to any of the other three will yield a vastly different aim feel. Linear and classic tend to be the most popular. Linear has a more raw input feel to it, where classic is the respawn feel that we all know and love from Titanfall. After you find the response curve you feel good with, now you can take a look at your sensitivity. You have two, a non-ADS sense and an ADS sense. Having a higher sensitivity will give you the feeling of less aim assist and more freedom to look and move around, where a lower sense magnifies the sticking effect of it. However, this can be detrimental when trying to react to something quickly. A majority of pros stick to a lower sensitivity, so that's what we're going to recommend. Afterwards, go straight to the menu cursor speed. This will allow you to loot quicker in death boxes, so play around with it and just find the right speed for you. Don't make it too quick though, as it can be hard to control and therefore slower to get what you need. Slow is sometimes faster when this is concerned. As far as look and trigger dead zones, definitely have trigger dead zones at none, so you can just aim and shoot as soon as you press it. Look dead zones tend to be adjusted in the case of stick drift. Stick drift can happen from excessive clicking of the analog sticks or repeated use. If you have a new controller, more than likely none will work just fine. If your hardware has seen better days, then test it out, but small works just fine in most cases with minor stick drift. Settings are always going to come down to the user's preference, right? If you use something different than what we recommend, then that doesn't mean you're wrong. It simply means everyone is different and what's right for someone may not be right for you. Regardless of your settings, you're going to have to practice in-game to get better, man. Just because you copied your favorite streamer's settings doesn't mean you're going to drop that 20 bomb next game. Whatever your goal is, guys, be it a 20 bomb or even dropping your first 2,000 damage game, you're going to need to put time in to learn how to use your controller to your advantage. The firing range will be a super helpful tool when learning your controller. Using the bots to dial in your ADS sensitivity is a great way to enter the next game prepared to shred. Practice using the cutout targets for non-assisted target changing to build muscle memory. Hopping into the range with a friend for some close range 1v1s will get you warmed up for public matches. And so after you're done with the firing range, then take the fight to the real players in public matches. This doesn't mean your practice is over though. This is where the most important lessons really start. You're going to need to put in some reps, and Apex is a very unforgiving game with a tough learning curve regardless of your input. Looking for something to learn from every death or bad play is going to skyrocket you towards greatness, man. Like we said before, you need to look at every single game as a learning opportunity. And so if you die, rather than just getting tilted or saying unlucky, try to figure out the fundamental reason why you died. Maybe you missed some shots, or maybe you pushed too far. Regardless, you should consider every single game you play as a way to get better. And this logic rings true especially when it comes to practicing your controller aiming and performance. Each time you lose a fight, look at the common factors. Was your sensitivity too low or too high? Did you ADS when you should have been hip firing? Analyze your gameplay to dial in your settings and your performance. And if you're struggling to analyze your own gameplay and really improve, consider checking out ProGuides.com. We have an amazing service called VOD Reviewing, man, where you can submit a game you played to one of our pro analysts and they will send you back a reviewed version of the game, showing you things that you probably didn't notice while you were playing. Alright, anyways, back to the video. So regardless of what you heard about comparisons between controller and mouse and keyboard, they both have pros and cons when using them in Apex. Controllers are definitely kings of the close quarter fights. Running guns like the R301 or the Vault is going to allow you to use that aim assist to your advantage. Tracking is your friend when it comes to controllers. If you are getting shot at from range and need to close the distance, using a G7 or an Anvil flatline with a long-range sight will give you the poke needed to do so. Running a good sight on any medium long-range gun is going to make you a well-rounded threat at any range. When looting, try to crouch in a safe spot to grab what you need quickly. For the most part, you're unable to move and loot like you can on mouse and keyboard. There are some high-level techniques to loot while keeping some movement, but we're going to go over those in a more advanced guide. You may have found that throwing grenades is not your strong suit. Use this trick to help. Using your left analog stick to line up the throwables is a lot better than trying to aim the line. Getting the height with the right stick and moving to the correct spot to throw from will make your life much easier and your enemy's life much shorter. Trying to think how the enemy will react when you shoot them will help with tracking their movements. It's especially important to track their movement because of bullet travel time in Apex Legends. You always want to try to position your crosshair to predict which way your opponent is going to move. This might sound difficult, but once you get this down, it becomes second nature. And it's honestly one of the biggest steps in becoming a pub stomper or ranked grinder. Apex and controllers go hand in hand, really. Many games struggle to find that balance between controllers and mouse and keyboard players. And so we think Apex has made amazing changes over the years to close the gap even more. The menu cursor speed as well as the death box not being closed out when damaged were huge controller buffs. With the addition of the survival slot, we saw the first negative change in quite some time. The inspect button was changed and instead the heat shield took over. This didn't last long, so all my Wraith mains out there, don't worry. They quickly fixed this so you can continue to do your flippy kunai tricks, alright? Keeping in mind your strengths as a controller player and playing often will bring much success. And so with a large portion of the top Apex players being on controllers and crossplay being added in Season 6, it is clear Apex and the controller community are a partnership not going anywhere anytime soon. Alright guys, so listen here man, controllers are not easy to get used to, so don't get disheartened and give up, alright? Putting all these tips and tricks to use will take some practice, but we know that you can definitely do it. Alright, stay tuned for all our more advanced guides coming soon. If you guys liked the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And if you want some more motivation, connect with me on my Instagram at YourMotivationGuy. Hey, it's been an honor doing this video with you guys. I'll see you on the next one. Peace.